Welcome, everyone. I'm your co host, DJR Stewart. Welcome to Black Men Speak.
And I'm your co-host, Tommy D. Duncan III, otherwise known as TD3. Jimmy, it is Wednesday, June the 21st, 2023. And if it's Wednesday night,
It is certainly Black Man Speak. So let's give a big shout out to Liquid for providing our theme music, which folks, y'all don't realize I jam on that beat every time we start the
yes, it
show.
does.
I'm in the background there just jamming. That kind of threw me off a little bit. Give a big shout out to For Us Films and our own studio for setting up our virtual studio here and so for supporting us. And if you haven't already, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and then share, spread the word. Invite a friend. If you're here watching the show tonight, invite a friend out so you guys have something interesting to talk about afterwards. With that being said, Tom, I know we got a packed show tonight, and we have some very interesting guests once again. So let's get rocking and rolling.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have another great show for you tonight. Very excited about tonight's show. I think we're right at the beginning of summer. I don't know officially what day it is, Jimmy, but
Well, this is the equinox. I mean, this is the longest day of summer. So tomorrow starts our official entry into fall and ending summer and going into fall and winter.
yes. And so welcome, welcome, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, as always, we like to talk about community news and what's happening in America. And tonight is no different. We're going to talk about a couple of interesting things that have happened since our last show. Bank of America has pledged $500 million into equity funds to help underserved, or what some might call underserved business, to help them grow and expand. So we're going to talk about that briefly or not. Of course, we just got past Juneteenth, Monday of this week, but the grandmother of Juneteenth, Miss Opal Lee, is still on the move and has not stopped walking. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened on Juneteenth and what she is doing. We want to, of course, honor her 40 years, Jimmy, that she worked her magic in terms of making this a federal holiday. And then, Jimmy, another interesting piece of news that we want to talk about today. Cincinnati, the city of Cincinnati, I believe late last week, made a formal apology.
Yes, Tom, they made the official apology.
Exactly, for the deeds that it did in destroying the Black community in its city. We've talked about this in other areas, Tulsa, New York City, Florida, places across the country, but they actually took the initiative to actually make a formal apology, Jimmy. And then we will have special guest tonight to talk about something I think a lot of folks are going to get a big kick out of. We're going to have the founder and owner and senior consultant for Plush Vodka, a Black-owned spirit company that is in several states, 20 states throughout the
Let me say
country.
this, Tom. If you have to go out and buy liquor, please go out and buy Plush Vodka. We need to support our own and give them some encouragement to continue to do what they're doing.
Right. So we're going to talk about them in the latter half of our show. But let's go ahead and get started with
Let's
tonight.
get started.
Let's first talk about Bank of America. I know a couple of weeks ago, Jimmy, you were talking about, the banks giving money to economic endeavors as opposed to Black Lives Matter, Jimmy. And Bank of America recently announced that it is pledging $500 million into an equity fund led by so-called minority and women entrepreneurs.
Yes, Tom. And on the surface, this sounds like good news. $500 million is a lot of money, but in reality, how it's going to work out is that this money is going to pretty much go to pretty much women and some firms that are, I guess, aligned up with the ESG. I think that's what they call it, or with the equity inclusion ratings. So most likely, this money will not trickle down to the average entrepreneur on the street who's trying to come up. This
Well,
money will
Jimmy,
go to consulting firms, to others at the top. And so it's not going to, in the end, it's not going to really make a difference because very little of the money is actually going to make it down to the people that we think it should go to.
well, Jimmy, I know you and I have discussed this multiple times before when it comes to a lot of what we call initiatives that were created to help Our ancestors who were disenfranchised, our ancestors whose economies were destroyed, our ancestors whose communities and businesses were destroyed. Yes, you're right. The large majority of the benefit has gone to Caucasian women when they were targeted towards the Black community. But, if Bank of America is going to put it out there, then you know what? It's our job to hold them accountable. And, there are a lot of folks who have their money in Bank of America
That is true, Tom.
accounts. And so, if nothing else, we need to start speaking with our dollars, because at the end of the day, those dollars that we deposit multiply, I believe, at least 10 times in terms of loans that are being provided for homes and or businesses. And so they can make a decision, we can make a decision. And I know a ton of folks, including myself. I have a little money in Bank of America, I have it in multiple banks, but we need to make intelligent decisions in terms of where our money is going and holding people accountable for their promises.
Well, you know what? Let's put the challenge out there, Tom, for those who are coming up and need money to expand their business or are looking to start a business. Please, go to Bank of America and put your applications in, and let's if they're sincere in the proof will be in the pudding, through their actions. If they're not, then we'll eventually figure out that this is really, and I think in the end, Tom, it's really about ciphering off Black businesses to get them as customers. Um, with this program. So, but we'll see. I'm a little skeptical. I tend to be a little hard on these things,
Well, I understand.
and until it's actually proven out. So,
I
we'll see if
understand.
they prove it out.
Yes, yes.
What's our next story, Tom? We have any feel good stories this
You know
week?
what? We do have a feel good story, Jimmy. I know we talked about this last week when we had our good friend historian Clarence Glover to talk about
Hmm.
Juneteenth last week. But someone who he holds very dear to his heart, Miss Opal Lee, um, she had a walk for freedom, um, a walk for freedom, 2.5 mile walk this past Monday
Okay.
in Fort Worth, which is where she's lived the majority of her life. She was born originally in East Texas, but moved. Her family moved to Fort Worth when she was very young, and she had a walk for freedom. And matter of fact, Jimmy, she was in Cedar Hill today for basically an open community forum, town hall. I
Hmm.
went by there for a few minutes, Jimmy, but I had to get back here, of course, to get our show started. But uh, I believe I'm not exactly sure how many of
Hmm.
these she's had, but it's the Walk for Freedom, which is a 2.5 mile walk, which is held in representing the 2.5 years it took to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation from the first to the last.
Okay.
So, I mean, in telling this story, I mean, I know that the southern states, Texas in particular, we probably started celebrating Juneteenth more so than other northern states or even in the West. But Jimmy, basically what this does is this acknowledges the last of those who found out that they were free from being enslaved on June the 19th, 1965. Of course, this all started on the eve of the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, when Abraham Lincoln made the order that all slaves are going to be free, or all those who were enslaved
Well, slight
are going
correction,
to be.
Tom. Not all slaves. Basically, the
We're talking about under Confederate control.
right under Confederate control.
You're
There
correct.
were a few
Under
slave
Confederate
states
control.
that did not succeed or fight against the Union. So, so you really took an amendment to the Constitution to officially end slavery throughout America. But for the most part, the Emancipation Proclamation did um, was the catalyst to start the end of slavery.
And not going back and revisiting what we talked about last week, for those who may not be familiar with Juneteenth, very easy to find the information. And why this is so important to our community in particular. They say that none of us are free until we are all free. And
Right.
so this is why
Excuse me.
Opal Lee literally spent 40 years of her life advocating to make this a federal holiday, which happened in 2021, signed into law by President Joe Biden. But she's not done yet, Jimmy. She continues to fight the good fight. She has, of course, this annual walk-a-thon every year, but now she's focusing on things like joblessness, homelessness, food insecurity, and climate change, which, of course, a lot of our communities are disproportionately affected by.
Yeah, so women like her, make them every day, Tom. So we're gonna give her our support and our love, and hope she continues to fight the good fight, and hopefully inspire others to come up to take her place because we need freedom fighters.
And the proceeds from this annual walk are going
Oh,
to
okay,
go
it's a
to the,
fundraiser.
yes, they're going to go to the National Juneteenth Museum, which is hopefully expecting to start groundbreaking within the next couple of years. They're expecting it
Okay.
to be a 2-year project. This is something that was new that I wasn't aware of, but they are going to be constructing a National Juneteenth Museum. So we definitely have to keep our ears open for that as
Well, we
well.
need everyone to support that. So we've seen other black monuments, Tom, that have gone in disarray. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice today. Um, But let's make sure that when this is done, that this is well maintained and kept up and preserved. So we need everyone to put their to reach into their pocketbooks, Tom, and get those checkbooks out, and make sure you support this effort.
Yes, sir. And finally, Cincinnati, the city of Cincinnati apologizes to the black community, Jimmy, almost 60 years ago.
Well, you
Um,
know what, Tom? This is
yes,
a good thing, and I'm glad they're doing this. And I'm going to say this: of all the things that we've done to sort of heal the racial wounds in this country and past history, I mean, this is American history, so it belongs to all of us. The biggest thing that everyone who was involved, was loosely involved or connected, Tom, the biggest thing you could do is just apologize. Just if you if the country just says, "Hey, we want to heal this once and for all, want to acknowledge that these things were done, and we want to express our sorrow for any hand that we may have had in it," just apologize. And you know what? You would do a great deal to heal the wounds in this country and allow others who are still holding on to this to move on. But I think the pain comes when it seems like folks have overlooking or willing to turn their back on it by saying, "Hey, my family didn't own any slaves. We didn't participate in slavery. We didn't do this. We didn't do that." But we have to understand, Tom, it wasn't a me him because some black people own slaves. Indians own slaves. Everyone owns slaves except the Mexicans. So they're the only ones to get it passed to me. But this is American history. So this is American pain that has to be healed. And so we can't just dismiss it. Not just this, but all of we have dark history in America. This country has done some nasty things to a lot of different people, not just black people, but there's nothing wrong with starting the conversation by saying, "Hey, for all the folks who feel any pain by any of this, we're sorry. Whether you had a hand in it or not,
yeah,
just simply, I'm sorry."
yeah, and that is definitely a good start, Jimmy. This started in the late 40s, early 50s, where of course, again, we've talked about this several times. The use of eminent domain ran a highway and built an industrial park right through the black community, just like we talked about a month or so ago with Tulsa. Jimmy, this is, I believe, recorded as one of the largest mass distributions of African Americans out of one area in the history of the country. Barely anybody knows about it, Jimmy. Almost 26,000 people, 97% of them African American, were literally moved out of their homes. And to add injury to insult, Jimmy, they promised them, of course, promised them they were going to put them in affordable housing,
Always, that's
which,
always the
which of
promise.
course,
Never happened.
they broke that promise, put them in an
Yeah.
area, Jimmy. 27% of the housing was dilapidated. 27% of them didn't even have working toilets
Mm.
at that time, Jimmy. And so it just goes to show, America has broken a lot of promises, not just to our people, but to the American Indians and a lot of other folks, Jimmy. And this is no different from that. I'm glad to see that the city is making an apology, and hopefully there will be more to come after that. This may be as a start, but there's a lot more work to be done, given that they destroyed and not just moved out communities, but they destroyed businesses. Jimmy, records showing that there were more businesses in that area that were owned by black men than are there today owned by other folks. So they destroyed
Well,
black.
Tom, this is a bit. This is not just. I mean, I know we're talking about Cincinnati, but this is. I was reading just earlier today about a town up in Pennsylvania. Same thing. Large black population. We know what happened in Tulsa. Um, the a white group. was upset that these people were not staying in their place, not staying in their lane. They were a little uppity, and they basically went in and burnt the area down, Tom.
Yeah,
Killed a lot of people, displaced a lot of folks, and so this has happened throughout America. There are only a few places that we've heard about, but Tom, there are a lot of places that we haven't heard about where these
correct.
things happen. So I don't want people to dismiss this as saying, "Oh, well, this is just an isolated incident here and there." No, this was an American
Yes.
movement at that time, and I'm not totally sure that we're totally past it now. Man, I still think there are efforts to keep Black people down out of fear that if we ever be allowed to rise up and reach our full potential, I think there are those who think that we may reciprocate or retaliate
There's no
against
evidence of
them.
that, but there's no evidence of that, Jimmy.
But Tom, the fear is real. I believe the fear is real.
Well, I mean, what about the fear of those who have been destroyed, those who've been lynched, those who've been raped? Uh,
I understand, Tom, which is why I think
that's the fear.
there's still an effort to make sure that we're kept under thumb and under control, to make sure we're fearful of the police, that we're stuck in certain areas, to make sure that we don't come to power, Tom. And
Well, that's the problem that they've got to solve for themselves. We've got enough problems to deal with.
well, Tom, our problem is that we have to deal with that problem. So
Gotcha.
because their fears and trepidation become our
Well,
problems.
we can't do anything about that, obviously.
Well, we can do something, Tom. We can do
What
what we
is your
have to do.
recommendation?
Our recommendation is do the things that we talk about on this show, which is come together, identify our issues, and overcome them. We're
Well,
gonna have a
Jimmy, I
couple of
think
guests who,
we've already been doing that, but there's very little
yes,
evidence that we're going to go back and do what they did to our community.
no. I mean, I understand that, Tom. I mean, I don't think Black people are going to retaliate against white people
We
for the
just want to be
crimes of
left alone,
history.
and we want to be left alone and allow us to live the principles this country was supposedly founded upon.
Right. Just
That's
stay out
it.
of the way. Let us
Just
let
leave
us
us alone.
let us let us let us fix our problems. Let us come up. Let us do our thing without interference. That's not too much to ask.
Gotcha. All right, Jimmy. Well, before getting off the track too far, Jimmy, it's
Okay.
time to bring our special guests onto the show that we are very proud to have here tonight. We have Mr. Malcolm Hale, CEO and founder of Plush Vodka, and my good friend, Mr. Stephen Mortley, who's a senior consultant for Plush Vodka. And folks, we are going to turn the corner and get very happy, and we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, growing businesses in our community, not just within the States, but globally as well. And so we are very happy to have you.
I'm very excited.
Exactly.
Someone other than hair care and barbecue. I mean, this is very exciting for me, man. I mean, y'all just don't know.
Thanks for
Absolutely.
having us.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time, but why don't we do this? I want you guys to briefly introduce yourselves. I know you're both from the Northeast New York City area. My good friend, Brother Morley, we got a chance to hang out a little bit earlier this year, man. And tell us about your business, Malcolm, how you got started, just your background and your roots are the same for you, Brother Morley, and how you guys connected. And then let's kind of talk about the business.
Okay. Thanks for having us on your show. We appreciate it. My name is Malcolm Hale. I'm the CEO and founder of Plush Vodka. This is the bottle here. It's the plum infused vodka here. It's the best in the world. 8-time distilled, gluten-free. We also have the straight vodka. It's 8-time distilled, gluten-free as well, made in America. It's all natural. There's no sugars added. Gluten-free. It's all natural. I started the brand at 25 years old. I'm from New York City, Brooklyn, New York, and started the brand it started at I was hanging with my friends one day and they were drinking one of the worst vodkas in the world. I would say Smirnoff. It was the worst vodkas in the world, and they were drinking it, and I was like, no, I could create something better than this. And basically, it told me, the typical things like in growing up in a neighborhood, they tell you, you can't do it.
Right.
You can't do that. Who you think you are? You need millions of dollars. And I'm a person that I like to take those challenges. So I actually left the stoop, went into my car. I found a distillery in South Florida that told us about their products, how they can create a unique product for us. I always loved plums, so I went home and I blended plums together with my fiance at the time with a straight vodka, and it was really smooth. Did some research in the Far East. They say plums is one of the best fruits to pair with a spirit, like plum wine and plum brandy, in Asia. no one in the market here had a plum vodka on the market, so I knew I could sell that. The bottle shape was very unique. We wanted to create something that's like a perfect shape of like a silhouette, and it stands out. You can grip it. You can, it stands out on the shelf. Everything. So we wanted to stand out from there because we didn't have millions of dollars to market. So, so I just actually, invested my own money into the business that I had. I had a car rental business at the time. And I invested all of my savings into that business, with no prior experience in the liquor industry.
Wow.
So it was
stop right there. You said no prior experience.
None. Zero experience in the industry. But from that day to this day, I probably know what everybody else in the industry know or more. I'm up day and night learning the business, trial and error, and learning from people who knows the business, and just don't think I know it all. And one thing I say as an entrepreneur, a lot of people I see, they think they know it all, and I come into every situation like I'm a student. I don't know it all. So I take the knowledge and I soak it up. So that's one of the reasons why I feel like we're successful is myself and the team that we have is like that. So I invested my life savings into the business at the time. I invested about $70,000 into the business. Over time, I actually worked Uber for 2 years so I could have the flexibility to fund the business. I made about $100,000 a year doing Uber, but it gave me the flexibility to provide for my kids and my fiance, but also had the flexibility to stop and take a call, whatever I need to do, because I work on my own schedule. So I started there, built it up from one state in New York City to 20 states now and 6 countries that carry the product, and about 3,000 locations. So,
well, brother, you're my hero. That's the way it should be done. I mean, really, because I preach and tell people, stay away from a lot of, the SBA stuff, all this government stuff, and the chambers who tell you, push you down one path, and if that path was working, we'd all be rich. There's a reason 95% of business fail because they're all doing the same dumb things. You did the right way. I mean, you took your idea, you invested yourself, you funded it yourself, and you had skin in the game. So you had to make it work. It was either going to work or you were going to go back to Uber. So that was your choice.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you made it work.
There was no option. Like I tell people all the time, they don't understand how serious I take it because there's no option. I didn't create the brand and story and went to someone and say, "Here, give me $1 million." And now I was pitching investors, and people also offered me in the beginning. One guy offered me $1 million to buy it from me, $500,000 to partner with me, and I just denied the offer because, and I didn't have any money in my pocket. To be honest, I was working Uber. I had any money in my pocket. He offered me $700,000 actually, to be exact, to take it over. And I told him no. I know it's gonna be worth more than that, and I'm glad I did that. I had a lot of people offer investment opportunities in the beginning stages, but the deals wasn't good for me. So I was like, I'm not giving up 30% of the company for $50,000. I'm not doing that. I'd rather just go out and work myself, and I'll take my time and build it. It might take me longer, but I have control, and I could have my vision. And when someone else come in. I just don't think it makes sense if someone has a vision and they started it from the ground up, and then you come in and you try to take over that vision. And it doesn't. I just feel it doesn't work that way. Usually a lot of businesses I've seen failed that way because they don't clash. The investors and the brainchild don't click. So I do say build the business up. One thing I say is going through this journey, and I have other businesses now. I have about 3 businesses now, is that you need to focus on finding your funding first. You create your idea, then the funding. I'm gonna be honest. If I started all over again, the only thing I would do is I would save my money or invest into my credit and fund the business first.
You're correct. That's
then
true.
launch the business instead of launching the business and funding it as I go.
Say, brother,
that's how I did it.
Is it possible to put the bottle back in the camera view? Can it?
Yes.
Is that? Yeah. Can it stand on its own? I want you to hold it all night. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
We'll make sure everyone sees that. Because my challenge is I want everyone to start. I mean, I know people buy Smirnoff, you buy other liquors out there, and they're not supporting our people, our community. So everyone who's drinking liquor, you run to the store, you make sure you get Plush Vodka.
JR, you won't be disappointed. Literally, you won't be disappointed.
And before we get started and move on, and after I acknowledge a couple of our folks on the chat line, I
Who do we have?
want you guys to talk about how y'all ended up connecting, and Stephen, kind of what you do in the business as well. But before we do that, I'd like to acknowledge Ms. Audrey K. Booker out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Thank you for joining us this evening. Ms. Dominique Bowman out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Ms. Faith Fleming.
Faith
is back in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as well. Brother Freddie Roberts, Mr. Calvin Crosby. Welcome, my good friend. Thank you for joining us. Of course, my good friend, Brother Asar Al-Kabalon, who is out of the Austin area. Miss Armanda Brown, what's going on, cuz? Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And if you would, feel free to make any comments that you would like to share on our chat line. And then, of course, if you'd like to, you can, of course, also call in and ask.
Call in, people.
Call in and ask the question that you have. So before
I know you have questions for these two brothers, talented brothers. So call in.
Absolutely.
You reach out to them and you can ask questions directly. So
good deal. So now, how did y'all connect? How did you get involved with the business team?
Yep. If I told you, you wouldn't believe me, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. Okay. What if I told you Malcolm and I connected through somebody else, but Malcolm grew up 3 blocks from me?
Yep.
Amazing.
Literally 2 stoplights.
Yep.
So my background is in marketing, specialty in sports marketing and branding for athletes and brands such as like the Orange Bowl, US Open, Time Warner, Major League Baseball, things, entities I've worked for. I'm gaining up to about $40 million at this point in my efforts and creativities and ideas for these entities and these events with the entities. So at this juncture, there was a young man that came into my dear fraternity, the best one in the world, named Chris, and we were at a barbecue. We were at a barbecue at another brother's house, and he brought it over for us to taste. And I was like, "Yo, this is good." And these are fellas that drink Macallan, they drink Jameson, they drink all the top shelf liquors. They don't really. The only thing that they were paired on was Grey Goose pear. That was the only thing that was on the table, not Kettle One. Nothing. So we already got the taste for infusion around the table, right? So Chris is like, "No, you got to try this. You got to try this. You got to try this." So literally, it was silence when everybody drank it, and all it was like, "Oh damn! Oh damn! So you only brought 1 bottle?" So so basically after that, a couple months went by, about a year or so. Then he brought it to a chapter meeting. I became chapter president of the local chapter in Brooklyn, and they were asking, if any brothers was interested in becoming investors. But I know I could, but at the time my headspace wasn't right and my pocket wasn't right too, because I was doing some things, lost some family members. So you know how that goes. The insurance don't kick in right away. Yeah. So what I did was I called a few friends of mine, and one is a Sigma. You know how we do. We got our close friends, right? Pockets of friends. And I told him, I said, "Yo, go see this guy." And KB ends up saying, "Yo, I want in." And he starts talking to Malcolm and getting things pushing. And then I call another friend of mine in my sports company named Rich Daly. And I said, "Rich, K is going to call you. I need you to listen to what he's saying." And da-da-da-da. So Rich ends up getting a bottle and he ends up tasting it. And he's like, Steph, this is the best thing I've ever tasted, and I don't drink. I said, that's the situation. A lot of the brothers at the chapter, they didn't drink vodka, but they wanted this bottle in their house.
Okay.
So it spoke volumes of the taste of it. But caveat, must say, after the third cup, third glass, it starts to creep up on you because it's so good, and it tastes
That's
natural.
what happens.
Right, it tastes natural. So you be like, I feel funny. So a year or two went by, maybe 3, and then I called Chris. I called Gerald. I said, listen, I want to do this. And they were like, well, I don't know where such and such is, such and such. I said, you know what? I did put Rich on. So I called Rich. Rich was like, well, do you have Malcolm's number? I said, I think I have his email. So he gave me Malcolm's email, connected us back together. Malcolm actually grew up. Well, his father and uncle lived on the same block as my first daycare.
Wow. So y'all ended up, y'all lived close to each other, never knew each other, got connected through somebody else, and now y'all are out there repping the brand and making it happen.
Yes.
That is a wonderful thing. Now you have Caribbean roots.
Correct.
Your family, and of course you live and you grew up in Brooklyn.
Correct.
So tell us about it, and this could go to one or both of you. How is expanding? Because the brand started in 2015, right, Malcolm?
Yes.
And you said that you're in 20 states and how many countries? 6 countries?
6 countries.
Tell us a little bit about, obviously with the exception of what you were mentioning first, about funding your business. And I don't know that you're going to ever have enough money to do everything you want to do, but funding the business and then building the brand and then the speed at which it started growing and then taking it international. Tell us about doing business in the States versus going international.
So I would say in the States is in the United States with vodka, with spirits period, it's a competitive market. You know, it's so many brands. We go to the liquor store, you go to Total Wine and More, you're gonna see 1,000 to 2,000 SKUs on the shelf, where it's like a supermarket for liquor. You go to the Caribbean islands, it's maybe 10 vodkas on the shelf. You know, so you stand out more, so you have more opportunity to grow and get your name and brand recognition out there. And also the distributors in the Caribbean, they pay you up front. In the States, they all demand credit. They all demand 45 days, 60 days, 90-day credit. So by the time you start, like I said, we just opened up 2 new markets this week. These distributors are ordering, 2 pallets or whatever, right? They want 60 days credit. By the time 60 days come, they done sold that in 30 days. They're gonna want another 5 pallets. By the time you pay the first 2 pallets, you done ordered 10 more.
Exactly.
So
So they constantly owe you.
Growth comes with problems when it comes to the U.S. I can say that because as the market grow more, the more they order, the more you have to support, the more marketing you have to do. And the longer they have to pay, it takes.
And you have the front this up front until the money comes in.
You gotta continue to front it, and some of these guys don't pay on time as well. So I would say there's never enough capital. I can tell you that when it comes to growing. Now it's a stage where I have to scale back and say, look, we grew enough where I have to slow down a little bit and let these cash flow catch up. But now we focus on international because international, like we just launched, we about to launch in India, and they ordered, containers, and
not pallets, containers.
They're buying
containers full of pallets.
Yeah, compared to a distributor.
Now one pallet is 65 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's distributor
there's almost I think there's over 1 billion people in India, so that's a good market.
Yes, it is. Both India and China would be.
We only need 10% to get drunk, right?
I'm good with 2%. I'm good with 2%.
Right.
So, Brother Malcolm, before the show, you were talking about a few stores here locally.
In Texas.
That are carrying your products. Can you take a minute just for the watchers and listeners, if they want to know where to go find your product, for the ones here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area? You mentioned a few stores. I think you said Goodies.
Total Wine and More, Goody.
Okay.
Twins, Seagulls, which is twins. Liquor Depot, Beverage Depot. Fossil Creek. Alamo City and San Antonio. And then I heard some people from Atlanta, it's multiple package stores in Atlanta that carry, including the Total Wine.
Yeah.
Florida, all Total Wines. Like, if you're in the state with Total Wine, we most likely, if it's in one of our
We're there.
markets,
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
in the Total Wine.
And you can also order online as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, you can order online, all 50 states. So you can order at plushvodka.com. You can order online.
Okay, everyone.
Yeah.
I expect y'all to be going to the website right now and ordering your plum wine. So
one thing
no, I'm sorry,
about our
plum vodka,
vodka,
not wine.
one thing about our vodka, that there are cultures that don't skip on ingredients. So what they do, in the Asian culture is one of those cultures. So as the Indian culture, West Indian culture, they don't skip on the ingredients. They don't fill or any. If it's not there, they just won't make it. The Asian culture has picked up and use it in different infusions of not only their food but also their drinks, and it's usually the plum vodka that they use. Again, the plum
To
is
cook
very
with.
tasty, and the regular is tasty as well. But if you're a fruit eater, the plum is gonna be testing your palate every time.
Okay. And you're saying these communities are using to cook with also?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And looks
Like
like we
fish,
have a couple of
seafood.
questions online. One from Armando Brown. Congratulations.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing. How did you find out about suppliers? If I may ask, any hindsight advice for us following in your footsteps?
I did research. I just found. Be honest with you, I found my supplier online by just googling the number one, vodka distilleries in the United States. But I did do research. I just, did some, asked for referrals. I looked at reviews. I would say go to trade shows. Trade shows use like a liquor trade show, a liquor trade show. They have them in every state. Just going out and meeting in distilleries because they all tasting their products. You could try it right there on the spot, and you can meet 10, 15 distilleries and see which one fits your vision. And then you have wineries the same way. That's why I say if I did it all over again, I would go to a trade show and I would meet multiple distilleries. When it comes to like the bottles, it was very difficult because as you see, this bottle shape is not on any shelves. The way it's shaped, it was very difficult to find a supplier.
That's a nice looking
for this
bottle.
bottle.
The bottle,
Yeah.
bottle is very handsome.
Yeah, you want to stand out from the shape to the name to the
I mean,
flavor.
it's a sophisticated look. I mean, it's slim
Yes.
and it's like you said, you can grip
Yep.
it, but I mean, it has a very nice look.
Let me
So-
ask you.
Well,
That
our
was the-
motto is the motto is the taste of sophistication.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate for you picking up on that.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I presume we have some drinkers on the line who may know a little bit about vodka, but for those who are not fine spirit drinkers, I mean, you got vodka, you got whiskey, you got rum, you got gin. Tell me about the type of person that reaches for a vodka versus something else. And then tell me about your vodka, kind of what makes a difference. And because I don't drink alcohol, I haven't drank in years. And there are some folks out there who may just be novice drinkers. But tell me about the typical vodka drinker versus gin or whiskey drinker.
So the typical vodka drinker, most of it go along to get along. They'll go along with what the major label is. And like Tito's is horrible to me. It's horrible to a lot of people, but it's in bulk and it's there, right? Smirnoff is always
Very
there as
popular
well
brand.
because you right, it's about the brand. But like I said, my chapter only took one vodka, and that was the pear vodka from Grey Goose until we tasted Plush Vodka. So you have people that's specific to their vodka, people that's loyal to their vodka, and people that just go along to get along on their vodka, and people who drink anything because it tastes good within the mixture of their drink. So those are the four people that would choose a drink, or they just stick with what they know, or they stick to their classics. There's people who drink Jameson, but if a Macallan is available, they'll drink Macallan.
So,
But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
But Macallan is a different type of taste. Macallan is a sip and relaxed taste, not a throwback.
Right.
Jameson is a throwback gulp. or you could sip it as well.
Well,
Jack is a go.
So
I would,
Go ahead,
you
man.
still president of your chapter in Brooklyn?
I am not the president anymore, thank Jesus.
Okay. But I hope you're still active to some degree, probably.
Yes,
And I'm
absolutely.
saying this as
I
I'm
am.
inactive for many years, but probably for a reason I don't want to talk about on this show. And Tommy, I know you're very active
Yes,
with the frat.
yeah.
So here's my challenge, guys. Black organizations, fraternity, sorority, and other social organizations spend $4.5 billion a year on conventions. So what are we going to do to get Plush Vodka, which I know we buy a lot of alcohol at these conventions, to be the official liquor of all the black fraternity sororities and black organizations,
The official
black
vodka.
MBAs, black accountants, black lawyers.
We getting there.
we
Okay.
get there.
Here,
Working on that. We do a lot of events with the fraternities. Like a lot of the conventions we're sponsoring in Atlanta, New York. We're starting to get to California conversations now. New Jersey. So we definitely be a part of it, a lot of it. But yes, the goal is to eventually get it to be the.
We're going to have you back next year for certain, and I want to hear.
what we
I want to
do
hear
is,
all the official sponsors that have jumped on board with
but see, the
Plush
thing
Vodka.
is, Stuart, we sponsor the fireside chats, so
Okay.
people are sipping while they're listening. So that way, when they walk out the room, they be like, "Can I get this bottle though?
Yes, they're gonna be
Where's
hooked.
this bottle at?" So though that there's a so my part of the business is strategic on having the development of the bottle be ingrained in your memory. It's sort of kind of like how when they were drinking Cisco back in the day, right?
Right.
And it was more so in the music videos. And then everybody wanted it. Cavassier, everybody wanted it. So this is a sophisticated taste and a sophisticated palate. So we're not sponsoring everybody, but we
Right.
Well, I want
sponsor
them to
certain
sponsor you.
things so everybody could taste it. And they'd be like, and then word of mouth has been our fastest marketing tool because
Well,
that's how we got to Bermuda.
Well, you
That was
guys
our
are the
first
official
international,
vodka of
first
Black Men
international
Speak.
platform.
Yeah, you guys are the official vodka of Black Men Speak. So, and right now, that's the only. You're the only liquor that we've given that to, and we'll continue to mention it on the show. But I challenge other organizations to do the same formally. Make y'all
Okay.
the official liquor. I mean, I know we're buying liquor at all these events.
We buy a ton
Yeah.
of liquor.
We buy a ton of it. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna buy it from, go out there and buy it from Plush Vodka.
So the thing with the organizations is that the person you got to catch is the convention director.
Okay.
The director of conventions. Now the problem with the director of conventions, depending on the hotel, they have to come to an agreement with the capping and a bottling fee or non-fee. And it depends on if we're having a suite or we're having a fireside chat or it's the entire thing at the bar. So there's 3 different levels in doing the hospitality piece and sponsoring the conventions. Now, if we had a barbecue or we're at an open thing, that's different. But still, in part of being risk management certified, I have to understand that they need to get their permits and they need to have a chief or a head of bartender. That way, if you have 4 bars on the premises during the barbecue, the whatever you want to call it, that way they somebody asked, do we make miniature bottles? We do make miniature bottles. We just started making them this year.
Congratulations.
And we're not potato grain. We're not potato or grain based too. Somebody just asked that.
Yes. Right.
100%.
What about black-owned clubs? What about nightclubs?
Repeat that, Malcolm. What did you just say?
It's 100% corn. 100% made from 100% corn.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what about the nightclubs? How are you guys breaking into that market? How are you doing it there?
We're slowly getting there as well.
Okay.
We're slowly getting there. Most of our shelf lives has been in Total Wines,
liquor stores.
Retail.
Yeah, it's been in retail. It's been in retail. And
we just got into restaurant a couple of restaurant chains. It's this group called OTG. So they put us in the JFK Airport, LaGuardia Airport, Philadelphia Airport, Houston Airport, DC, and should be Canada soon. So we in about 40 restaurants in the airport, in the airports right now.
We must say we got to give a shout out to TGI Fridays. We sat down with the senior vice president, and they were trying so hard. Remember, Mal? We did like 3 meetings with them, right, Mal? They were trying so hard to fit us in, and but their distributor didn't carry us at the time. So they would. I mean, the guy tasted it in Houston by happenstance. I happened to be out there for an XFL event, and he just. I was like, hey, you guys want to taste? We was at the bar. And he was like, yo, how can I get this? He literally stopped everything he was doing. He was in a meeting. And he came back to us, left his meeting, and said, listen, how can I get this in my TGI Fridays and my PF chains? And we jumped on, like, next week, right? The following week now? We jumped on a meeting.
Yeah. Yeah,
you'd be surprised with a few people commenting who support these restaurants. When you write your review, add in the review that you're disappointed that they don't carry Plush Vodka.
Well, it was the distributor. It was the distributor. It wasn't them. And
well, that can change, though. I mean, that's a matter of an agreement. And if the distributor needs to go out there and contact y'all to carry the product, then they can leverage their relationship with the distributor to make that happen.
Go ahead.
The industry is right there. This industry is very, very regulated when it comes to that, because I deal with that every day. I deal with that part of the business every day, and trust me, it's very regulated. We have people request, and it's still difficult because this is the problem with big distributors. Anyone who's trying to get into the industry, you don't really want to go with the big distributors unless you have major dollars, a major celebrity, because if you go with a big distributor, you're gonna, you have Tito's, you have Grey Goose, you have all the big brands. Why would their sales reps give you a time of day when they're already getting orders without leaving their house? Why would they go out and try to push a product? They gotta sell this product, and if it doesn't sell, now they have to deal with customers complaining why it didn't sell. So you have to go with the mid-level or small distributors. That's the most success we've had.
Okay.
We have one major distributor, and if we didn't have a salary employee there in that market, which is Georgia, we would probably wouldn't do well. To be honest with you, that's one of our biggest markets because we have a really good rep there. But it's not their fault necessarily. It's just that they have major brands. You have it's like us. If we had 2 other small brands and we give that to our team, they're gonna focus on Plush. They're not gonna focus on those 2 brands. So it's what it is. So it's tough.
In the focus on the brands, it's hard to break into markets, right?
Yes.
And us going overseas and breaking into Bermuda was like I would say the culmination, the tip of the spear, because now we went from there, we went into Puerto Rico, then we went into Aruba from there. Right. Yeah. And now we're in Trinidad. Trinidad just started in February. We're on 3 pallets now.
Yeah,
we're on 3 pallets, and we're like 4.5 months in.
Cool. Yeah, I love Trinidad.
So it has to be with a patience and a strategy, but it also has to be with the word of mouth push hard, because let's be honest, the Black consumer carries the dollar of America. True. And carry the dollar actually of the world. Because if Africa decides to stop spending $1 tomorrow and Black Americans stop spending $1 tomorrow, there will be a crash on all 4 markets.
Stop right there. You said something very powerful that most folks do not appreciate, and that is the power of the Black dollar in this country and globally. We do not, and Jimmy and I talk about this pretty regularly, we could solve our problems today, not tomorrow, if we were to exercise more discipline in our economic potential. So there are 2 things I'd like to ask. We have about 10 minutes left. What do you believe is the opportunity for Black America being a producer of this brand? One, how can we support you so that you can continue to grow? And when you look at the broader scope, I was reading an article. I don't know what share, but we are a pretty significant share of the spend in the liquor market, but we only have 1% of the.
We're 67% of that share.
67%.
That's embarrassing.
And we own 1%.
And that's 67% of just what they quote is African American, not the Caribbean, not the Afro-Latina diaspora either, just the African.
So what you're saying is 67% of the spend of what?
African American, Southerns, and everybody else
in the United States.
In the United States,
market share.
Yes,
we are 67% of the market share.
Yes,
I mean, believe it or not, we get drunk more than everybody else. That's what they claim.
You guys should be multi-billionaires in the next couple of years.
So that,
I mean, $1.6 billion at our disposal, and 67% market share. At least if you got 10-20% of that should be going to your brand.
I was thinking maybe 30 to somewhere between 30 to 40% of the spend on liquor, and you're telling me 2/3 literally.
Yes,
that is mind-boggling. What is the opportunity here?
Huge opportunity. If you guys didn't go out and get one additional customer, if the liquor drinkers, Black people in America who are liquor drinkers, would just go out and buy one bottle each of your product, you guys will be multi-billionaires tomorrow.
Yeah,
I mean, that's an embarrassment to have that we buy so much liquor. And I mean, I'm proud that you guys are growing and you're growing slow and methodically. But with Black people buying that much liquor, that shouldn't even be that kind of slow growth. That should be rapid, overnight success.
It's not our fault, to be honest with you. A lot of the states are control states.
Okay.
And a lot of the states, because we're not pushed by a big brand, like Ace of Spades, or which they're behind a big house like LVH, they don't take us on as quick as they do, and we're not in music videos, and definitely give a hello and a shout out to Shensia and her team. They tried to work a deal with us, but it was too quick and too soon for us. We were actually in a crunch trying to expand at the same time during COVID. But there are artists who want to work with us, and we want to work with them. They've tasted the product, and I mean, they're hands down. For those who don't know, Shensia is a Jamaican artist who Beanie Man founded years back, and she's now in the pop culture and in the rap scene and still in the Jamaican dance hall scene. And I mean, we want to work with these artists. It's just how we're growing. Sometimes, like Malcolm said earlier, these guys want credit, and I mean, we Black, we can't afford credit. Give us our cash.
How can we as consumers work on a brand like Plush Vodka's behalf in order to help grow that mind share and to grow that shelf space? How can we as consumers influence that? Or can we influence that?
I mean, the goal is, everyone to request the product in your local liquor store, your local restaurant, social media. Let people share it, let people know about it. That's the best you could do. That's what get the name out there. We're gonna start more PR, get the name out there with public relations and articles and interviews. But I can tell you, I'm gonna give you a good example of liquor industry is tough. It's so much money being thrown out. Like Tito's Vodka is putting up $100 million a year on marketing. How could you compete with that? But let me give you an example. Tito's
Vodka. If we own 67% of the spend in the market,
but you got to know about it. So I'm gonna be honest with you. Like these people on the channel today, they don't know about Plush till today. They have to know about it. So it costs money for people to know about it. So that $100 million is so people can know about Tito's. They can keep seeing it. And that's the downfall of having a brand where you don't have that kind of money. Now, Tito's didn't have that either. I studied his story. He started the brand just like me. He went bankrupt 3 times. He maxed out 10 of his car. Living in his car. He maxed out 10 of his credit cards to launch the product. So, it took him 20, what was it? He started in 1997. Were we in 20 years? 26 years to get to where he's at, number one liquor in the world. So, as much where we at right now. I studied his growth. His first year was 1,000 cases. I know it like the back of my head, like 1,000 cases the first year. Like the years that we in, he was bankrupt already. The third time, fourth time. You know, I think the second or third time already. And we're expanding in 20 states and
There's something
6
to be
countries.
said for tenacity to stick with it.
It's consistency.
Yeah.
You know, we cash. You have to be, if the business is growing, it's cash flow positive, and you can show growth. And right now, me as a CEO, I'm focusing on. I'm stepping back as being out in the field as much and focus on systems. And that's one thing I consult people a little bit now with my little bit of time I have, and I tell people, as a CEO, your first couple of years, you're working for the business and in the business. Then you have to get out of working in the business and managing the business. And that's the phase I'm in this year, is managing the business and putting systems in place, CRM and accountants and, the bookkeepers, the assistants, putting everybody in place and managing them. Because if you're working for the business, then it's like a job, and you can't focus on your vision if you're working every day in the business. If you're working managing a business, that's two different things. It sounds like similar, but if you're managing a business, it's better. If you're in the business out selling every day, like I used to do. I used to sell. I used to do tastings. I used to do everything. I couldn't grow the business the right way and with that mindset because I'm out in the field too much.
Right. Because you can't look and see where strategically you need to be.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't see I'm spending too much money. This person spends too much money because you're out there all day working. You come home, you're burnt out. So now I'm focusing more on managing and raising money and, cutting costs here. Because I have the time to do that because I have a team, so it's something that you can't do when you first start. I'm be honest, unless you start with a lot of money and you have a staff. But the faster you can get that done, if I knew what I knew now, I would have did this 2 years ago and stepped back. It hurts the business a little bit for growth because I'm the number one seller as a founder. But as long as you focus on training these people to take your some of your strengths and give it to them by teaching them, it'll pick up eventually, and you'll go way further than I can do because I'm one person. If you have 8 people that can give the same energy I have by managing them the right way, you can duplicate yourself 8 times.
But here's the thing, Malcolm, don't take no credit from yourself, bro. Malcolm has grown the business to the point where right now we're in those 6 countries, and 3 of those countries came on Malcolm's toes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So as he's growing the business, he's still learning the CRMs and the systems and still building the team. But now as he's stepping back, he's building the team now. And he's building out. That way he could see strategically where he could go, i.e. we're in India coming up. So Malcolm has done a yeoman's job as a CEO and a salesman's job. He did everything, but now he's taking the CEO role.
Well, now it's our turn to do the right thing.
Right.
So you brothers have done the right thing by building the business and growing it, and so we need to do our part and support you.
Right.
So even if you're not a liquor drinker, go out and buy a bottle and you can gift it to someone. If you're in an organization, encourage your organization to become official sponsors if they can. And when you go out to stores and restaurants, just ask for it. If they don't have it, if enough people are asking for it, hopefully that'll put enough internal pressure for them to go buy it.
And there are a couple of questions that I'll throw in there quickly before we have to close out.
We have a minute left, Tom. Go ahead.
I understand. Any expansion of products or just focusing on growing current share of existing products? That's from my brother Eric.
The main focus is expanding our existing products, but we are, weighing the option on another like flavor because a lot of customers are asking for it, but it's not set in stone yet. But the main focus is growing our market share with plum and street. That's the main focus.
We have a question from Tanya Hall. What are you guys doing to sow knowledge into the up-and-coming Black entrepreneur community? I've got a lot of young Black men and women that need to hear from peers such as you to encourage them to give them tools and tips on how to get into the business, since we do like a good spirit.
Don't be out there in your backyard with the distillery.
I would say finding the right distillery, going into trade shows, researching online, making calls, looking at reviews, finding a partner that can fit your vision. The bottling, like I said, unless you want to have a major funding, you want to stand out from a unique shape, but it's very expensive. because you have to order overseas, you have to order containers. That's one of the main challenges that we have to order in so high a volume and then wait 6 months to receive the return. If you're gonna start and you don't have the funding, I would say go with, a generic bottle with a very unique packaging, like labels, like put your money into having someone design a really good label to stand out, and go with a generic bottle that's made in the U.S. because your cost will be lower. But funding first. Like, I know somebody said something about how do you fund the business. Listen, focus on building your
You
business.
work and you save your money.
That's one way to go. I've learned the last 12 months to 18 months, if you building your personal credit score to 700, it's not easy.
Yep.
Finding a credit repair person, finding someone who can help you get your credit up.
It makes it much
paying your
easier.
bills. You can go to banks, not even SBA. You can go to banks and get multiple business credit cards for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 with no history in your business. If your credit score is 700, you can go to Bank of America. You can go to Chase Bank. You can go to multiple credit unions. They will give you
690. You could go to
680 up, 680 and up.
Yeah,
700 you will get more, but 600, 680 and up you can get $50,000 in 2 weeks of line of credits, and you don't need to use your own money at that time, but you have to pay that back. But a good thing about those credit cards is that it's 0% interest for 12 months or 9 months. So you have time to build your business up, to expand it and learn it, and then start paying it back.
I have one question from Ms. Faith Fleming. What is the one piece of advice you would give the aspiring entrepreneur? You did mention something a little bit earlier about the funding piece. Anything else that you would advise to?
That's the 90. I did a lot of research on this. The number one reason why most businesses fail is funding. like most of the time, it's funding, and focus on funding first. Like, it's not easy, but like I said, you can get it done with your credit score. Credit score, like I said, this is me. People told me this when I first started. I decided to invest my own money, cash. If I was knowledgeable, I'm not gonna say smarter. If I was knowledgeable as I am today, I would have invested that same cash into $2,000 credit repair, and then raised $100,000 0% interest with that $2,000, and kept my $70,000 in my pocket. That's the way to go. Is
credit versus cash.
Credit.
Correct.
I'm
Credit
telling you right
versus
now.
cash.
Look
Credit.
it up. Jay-Z.
People don't tell us credit is over cash.
Yes, Jay-Z. Every multi-millionaire use credit. And you might see them buy $100 million. They don't use their cash. And we are taught to use our cash, and how we're gonna rate. No, that's not the way to go. Build your credit. Go get $100,000 in credit cards or line of credits, and then use that money to invest.
But do your LLC first if you're gonna do that.
Yes.
That way it could pull over into that credit, and they don't pull your personal. So
OPM, other people's money.
Other people's money.
Very
good advice.
And with that, Jimmy, we are just about out of time. We are definitely.
Well, you know what? We got to make sure we get a commitment from both brothers to come back here in 6 months to a year, because we want to get an update to see how things are going.
That sounds good to me.
And I know at least one of y'all I'm gonna see in late July anyway, so we're gonna definitely have to chop it up.
All right.
We're talking about our general convention in Dallas, Jimmy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, we'll see everyone next week, same time, same channel.
All right. Good evening.